All right. You guys all set on your end? Pardon me? You guys are all set on your end? Okay.
Test.
All right. Thank you guys. Greetings, everyone. I want to thank you all for joining us, including so many of our amazing student athletes. We really appreciate you guys coming out and supporting our events like this. We're glad you could join us. We are excited to get things started. Before we kick things off, we just want to remind you, if you didn't check in, make sure to do that before you guys head out. And then we're going to be doing some drawing, some prizes, so we'll do that probably tomorrow. We'll email those folks. Also, Holly has copies of her books over there at that table, so if you want to check it out, ask questions afterwards, you are, of course, welcome to do so. With that taken care of, we'd like to get this event rolling for you guys. Life is full of hurdles, some that we see coming, others that we don't. The difference between stumbling and soaring often comes down to knowing what to keep and what to let go. When we simplify our stride, we create clarity, focus, and forward momentum. Holly Hoffman shares her story about how eliminating unnecessary steps helped her become a track star, and how letting go of comparison and complacency can help us move through life with greater purpose. Alex Bisson shares her journey from depression to hope, sparked by watching her friends run the Boston Marathon. Her story is a powerful reminder of that mental health matters, and even the hardest roads can lead to meaningful finish lines. Together, their stories challenge you to release what holds you back and run the race with courage, resilience, and hope. I am honored to present to you all our amazing speakers for this evening, Holly Hoffman and Alex Bisson.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Come back up here, Eric. Don't leave the stage so fast. We need to give Eric and his staff a huge round of applause. They've been great. Okay, come right up here. Don't be shy. Come on, Eric. You know, I've been working with him. We've done Zooms, and we worked 3 years ago together too, didn't we? Did we? Yeah. How many of you were here in 23 when I was here? Oh, not a lot. Yeah. Okay, but there were a few. So I told Eric, I said, I'm going to come back next year so I can get my other story. But you guys have done a wonderful job, and what you do for your student athletes is extremely appreciated. So another big round of applause for them. Thank you, Eric. Well, like I said, I was here in 2023. When I was here before, I spoke about my journey about being on Survivor. How many of you have ever watched the reality show Survivor? Your hand was up quickly. You are a Survivor fan. 50th season coming up. I believe it starts, do you know when it starts? Very soon, actually, the 23rd. But Survivor is a reality show where they basically drop you off in a jungle and you have to try to survive for 39 days and you have nothing but the clothes on your back. And I hate camping, don't like snakes. So I applied once. Many people on our season had applied like 17, 18 times. And so I got out there and I was like, this is not for me. And I wanted to quit. Jimmy Johnson, the former NFL football coach, was on my tribe, and he gave me a pep talk. And he encouraged me, and I kept going, and I almost won. I was actually the last one voted off. I made it to day 38, but I always think, I didn't use toilet paper for 38 days. I didn't brush my teeth. I didn't wash my hair. Wore the same clothes. So you find out a lot about yourself when you're challenged. And that's really what Alex and I are going to talk about tonight, is when you're challenged, how do you react? When you're faced with adversity, what goes through your mind? What goes through your thoughts? I'm going to start out by telling you a little bit about myself. I grew up in a very small town in South Dakota. Has anybody ever heard of Eureka? Oh, again, you know where Eureka is. Okay, how do you know where Eureka is? Oh, you saw it on a road sign. Okay. Do you know where it is in South Dakota? No. The coach does. You know where it is? North Central South Dakota. 850 people live in Eureka. No stoplights. They park in the middle of the street. I graduated with 19 in my class. I will not tell you the year that I graduated, and I will not tell you how old I am, but that's where Charlie and I raised our 3 kids. Our oldest son is a lawyer. He still lives in Eureka. His name is Austin. He is a single dad to those 2 little boys. Of course I would start with my grandchildren, right? Usually the crowd goes, "Ah." There you go. I thought you guys would be a little bit louder, but I'll give it to you, okay? So that's Cohen and Theo. And Austin, I said, is a lawyer. And he actually ran track at Concordia in St. Paul. All 3 of our kids were collegiate athletes as well. And Alexandra is sitting right over there. You're going to hear from her a little bit later. She is my daughter. She is married to a dentist, and Alex is a photographer and a journalist as well. She was the top journalist at KETV in Omaha, Nebraska, and that's Avery Ann Jackson. Oh, that was better. I liked that one a lot better. And then our youngest daughter, she and her husband live in Yankton, South Dakota, and they are both doctors. And they have blessed us with Oliver, Jane, and Nora, and 9-month-old Thomas. I know. So 4 kids. Can you imagine that? I mean, 9 months, 2, 4, and 6. Whew. I mean, this is energetic here, but there's my team. I call them my team. We all have a team. And this is my team, and I love being grandma. And again, I want to thank Eric and his staff for having us here. But there's somebody that I really want to thank tonight. That's my daughter. This is her first ever speech. But the most important thing that she doesn't realize when she gets on this stage is how she's going to help every single one of you. What she's going to be talking about tonight, it's not easy to talk about. I've been there myself. It's something we can all go through and we don't even know it. Her story is going to be powerful. Her story is going to be emotional. Her story is going to reach out to someone tonight that is going to say, I may be in the same situation. There's also someone in the room that has helped her immensely along her journey. And I'm not going to give too much away because I can't wait to hear her story, and I can't wait for you to hear her story. Our family has always been involved in athletics. In high school, our son was in cross country, football, track, what else, Alex? Swimming. We've always been an athletic family. Our daughters both swam in college. Alex was at SDSU. Elizabeth was at USD. So we've always had a love for athletics. So the most important thing that athletics has taught my children is discipline. And I believe that's why they've been so successful. Because it taught them how to be organized, how to get things done. When you're involved, you don't get into trouble. That's what I always told my kids in high school. It's always the kids that have to know they have to get their schoolwork done because they're going to go play basketball. They have to get their schoolwork done because there's a track meet the next day. So as we start, we're going to start this evening, by me saying, on your mark, get set, go. Let me try that again, okay? On your mark, get set, go. You wouldn't believe some of the reactions I get. I was waiting for you to get up and run, okay? Usually when someone gets up and runs, I give them all 3 of my books. So I was hoping you would get up and run. But I want to see by a show of hands, how many of you were a bit confused when I started with that 3-command start? Be honest, okay? You were confused, but you weren't. You knew you were supposed to do something, you just didn't know what. You see this 3-command start that I just said, it didn't come with instructions. It didn't tell you how far you were supposed to run, and it definitely doesn't come with guarantee. But what does it do? It tells you that it demands movement, and that's many times where we hesitate. We wait for clarity before commitment. We wait for certainty before courage. We wait for proof before progress. But you see, races don't start with certainty. Races start with a decision. And that decision is one step in one direction, and that is forward. When you hear on your mark, get set, go, you know you're supposed to take action. But many times we hesitate. I'm sure there were things going through your head when I said that, like, are we supposed to do something? Are we supposed to sit still? Are we supposed to get up and run? But here's the truth. When you hear on your mark, get set, go, we don't question whether it's time to move. What we question is ourselves. Why do we hesitate? Because we question our fear, we question our hesitation, we question our doubt. And yet in life, we hear our own version of go, and we still hold ourselves back. But here's the reality that most people don't want to admit. Standing still is the only guaranteed way to lose. I'm going to say that again. Standing still is the only guaranteed way to lose. You see, progress doesn't come from perfect steps. Progress comes from intentional steps. Moving forward, even when you're unsure, or taking that first stride when the path is blurry. Because clarity doesn't come before action, it comes because of action. What does that mean? That means every dream, every goal, every race you're meant to run comes with one step forward. And this evening could change your life, because you're going to figure out your steps. You have a worksheet in front of you. We're going to work on that worksheet. You're going to come up with the steps that you feel are most important in your life. Now, when you think about steps, when I said steps, what are some things that came to your mind? You can raise your hand and I'll call on you. When I say the word steps, what are some things that come to your mind? Don't be shy. Right here. Progress. What do you think about? Way back there? Graduation? Perfect. Okay. What are some other ones? Momentum. Did you see my program? Okay, what are some other things? When I say the word steps, what comes to your mind? Okay, right over here. Getting started. Steps can actually mean two different things. First of all, steps can literally mean one step in front of the other. How many of you count your daily steps every day? Knowing that you're supposed to take 10 to what? 15,000 steps. Do we only have one person in this entire room that counts his steps? I used to count my steps, but then what happened was I didn't get all my steps in, then I'd run around the kitchen island until I had like my 10,000 steps in, and I'm like, okay, I'm over this, so I'm not going to do it. But another way to think about steps is the actions within an activity to help you reach your goal. What does that mean? Let's say you want to learn a musical instrument. What are the steps that you're going to take to improve? Let's say you're studying for an exam. What are the steps that you're going to take to improve your grade? Let's say you want to get in better shape. What are some of the steps that you're going to take to improve your workout? But here's the real question. What steps are you going to take to improve? And that's really what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, and the intentional action that move you toward a desired goal. Now, I'm a true believer in goals. I always have a goal. When I started speaking 15 years ago, I did not expect to even have this profession. My goal was to speak in every state. When I applied to be on Survivor, they flew me to Los Angeles, California for a casting call, and I had never even been on a plane by myself. So it was a huge, huge step to go through a casting call in LA. So when I started, that was my goal. I have 2 states left. But then what is my goal? So here's what I really want you to think about tonight. It's great to set goals, but what happens when you reach your goal? Wouldn't it be better to say this? How about you try to reach your potential? There's a difference between setting a goal and reaching your potential. So then I thought to myself, okay, after I've been to every state, what's my next step? My next step was to speak in Africa. Guess where I'm going this summer? Africa. So you always have to think beyond your goals if you want to reach your potential. So what are we going to do tonight? You are going to create your own plan, a simple, intentional plan to help you figure out what your 3-step stride is. What is a 3-step stride? Who's a hurdler in this room? Yes, we have 1, we have 2, but you've all seen, do we have 3 back there? That's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about hurdling. But I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning when I told you to take your mark, get set, go. That was very confusing. Here's an example how you can be confused, but you're not. Here's an example. We've all done this. We park our car in the parking lot. We run into the grocery store. You run into the mall. No big deal, right? But then you come out and you can't find your car. It's happened to everybody, isn't it? Then you think to yourself, wait a minute, I parked right here. I know my car should be here. And then what do? You start taking steps to look for your car. You walk down one road, you can't find your car. You walk down another road, you can't find your car. You're confused, but you're not. Your steps are uncertain, your steps are confusing, but you know that you parked in this parking lot, you know that your car is white, and you know that it should be somewhere. I'm not kidding. The other day, I was at Shields in Sioux Falls. I walked around for 15 minutes trying to find my car. There was a time where I was like ducking down because I didn't want people to see me, because I'm thinking, they're probably thinking, why is this lady wandering around the parking lot? But then when you find your car, what happens? You're happy, you're grateful, and finally you find it, and then you think to yourself, I had my fob in my hand the whole time, I could have just hit the panic button, right? But we've all done it. But here's the interesting thing. I'm going to say it again. You're confused, but you're not. What is the difference between confusion and clarity? We all go through those confusion of steps. So let's start out by talking about steps. What example am I going to use tonight? Hurdling. Running the hurdles. You've all seen them. Those tall white things at a track and field event that people are running over, stumbling over, sprinting towards, sliding over, knocking down. But what is every runner's goal when you see a hurdle? To get to the finish line, right? No matter how they get there, they have to get to the finish line. Believe me, I've been there many, many times. Those hurdles aren't just part of a race. You see, those hurdles represent obstacles and challenges that we all face in life. We know that we need to start the race and we need to finish the race. But what we do in between the starting line and the finish line is the difficult part. How do we get over those hurdles really matters. But it also matters is what we do between those hurdles. Because in hurdling, as you can see in the video, hurdling steps are everything. Steps matter, your stride, your timing, your focus. It determines whether you stumble or you make it to the finish line. And you see, life is no different. Every step you take towards a goal, every action you take from where you are to where you want to be, those are the steps that determine whether you're going to succeed or you're not. How did I come up with this metaphor? My high school running career. At the time, I had absolutely no idea that I was going to be a hurdler. And I had no idea that hurdling was going to be a metaphor for life. But as I got older, I started realizing what running the hurdles really did for me. It made me realize the value of eliminating unnecessary steps that you have in your life, the steps that don't matter, the steps that are slowing us all down. I started track in the 8th grade, and I came from a very small town, like I told you. So in middle school, if you were good enough and your times were good enough, you could make the high school track team. Well, a lot of times, we just ran right in the middle of the street because there was no traffic or anything. So our coach would just take us out in the middle of the road, and we would run down the road. But I really thought that I was probably going to be a miler. As I started running, I'm like, you know, I think the mile is my event. So the very first week of practice, our coach had us run a timed mile. He lined us all up in the middle of the road, and as we stood there, he gave that 3-command start: on your mark, get set, go, and we all took off. And I just took off like a rocket. Well, you know why? It was downhill with a 30-mile-an-hour tailwind to our back. Well, I came in first, and I broke the school record at practice that day. So guess what my coach put me in? The very first track meet of my life. The mile. Yes, I was excited. I was ready. My teammates were excited to watch the practice record breaker. I was about to show them what I could do in a real race. So as I was warming up, I was ready to run the mile. The starter walked to the center of the track as we were all lined up. He gave the 3-command start: on your mark, get set, go, and I took off immediately. I took the lead, and it was effortless. I was smooth, and I was in control. But by the second lap, I pulled farther ahead. My teammates were cheering for me. I know I'm going to break the school record. I can feel it in my blood. Then came the 3rd lap. Around the first corner, my legs started feeling heavy. They started feeling a little rubbery. Every step was harder than the last one. But I knew I couldn't stop. I knew I had to keep going. By the 4th lap, I kept going, and I kept telling myself in my mind, you got to keep going, Holly. I was still in first, but I came around that last corner, and one runner passed, and another runner passed, and yet another. I came in dead last. Disappointment, humiliation. My first race, and my legs that felt so strong at the beginning betrayed me at the end. That's when I realized that not every mile was downhill with a 30-mile-an-hour tailwind to your back. But you see, life is no different. Sometimes the steps that seem simple at the beginning are the hardest ones to take further in life. Think about that. Your steps may be easy now, but some of you are going to be graduating. What steps are you going to take to improve? What steps are you going to take to improve your race? The next week at practice, my coach came up to me and he said, Holly, I don't think you're a miler. In my mind, I was like, what's your first clue, right? Well, then he pulled me aside and he said, I think you should try running the hurdles. I said, no, coach, I have no desire to run the hurdles. But I was not going to argue with him. He was this big guy. He was kind of intimidating. I said, okay, coach, I'll give it a try. I started slowly. I practiced my stride. I learned to focus on the steps that mattered. And over time, I actually started getting better and more consistent. I got better because I eliminated unnecessary steps. What do I mean by that? I eliminated steps that absolutely did not matter. Now, there are hurdlers in here, and you're going to know what I'm talking about, but I want to explain it to everybody else. What I was doing was between the hurdles, I was taking 5 steps. My coach told me that I needed to eliminate 2 steps, and I needed to stride and maintain speed, and I was only supposed to take 3 steps in between each hurdle. I actually thought my coach was kind of crazy. I said, you're telling me that I'm going to eliminate 2 steps and I'm going to get faster? And he said, yes, you will. Trust me. So when I think about him telling me now about that, I'm like, you know what? This is truly a metaphor for life. Eliminating steps that don't matter. So what are the steps that I'm going to be talking about tonight? The steps that are on my 3-step stride race are momentum, consistency, and teamwork. But tonight, you're going to come up with your own 3-step stride, the steps that matter in your race, because the truth is we're all hurdlers, but we run the race differently. What is important to you? Think about some of the unnecessary steps you're taking right now. How about some of these? Do any of you have these steps? Excuses, bad attitude, procrastination. Oh, there's some big guys over here going like this, okay? Worry, regret, activities that hold you back instead of bring you joy. Eliminating unnecessary steps truly does something powerful. It makes you happier. So what we're going to do is we're going to really think about that first step. The first step is momentum. And somebody, who said the word momentum? Right here. And that can be your first step too. So here's what I want you to do. I think I have to go back. I want you to imagine yourself standing on a track field. How do you build momentum? Each and every one of you in this room is going to close your eyes. But keep this picture in mind, that you're standing on the track, okay? Close your eyes. Imagine yourself standing on a track right at the starting line. Your heart's beating a little bit faster. You're a bit nervous. And if you're being honest, part of you is thinking, I probably should have gone to the bathroom one more time. You look straight down the track. You know your goal is simple. It's to get to the finish line. How are you going to get there? Maybe you're going to walk. Maybe you're thinking about just skipping. But then the race is about to change. Because between the starting line and the finish line, open your eyes, this is what you see. 10 hurdles that you have to get over. Not 1, not 2, 10. And suddenly, the race is different. And to get over hurdles means to get over obstacles and challenges that you face every day by eliminating unnecessary steps. So let's go back to momentum. What is momentum? Momentum is the start of the race. Momentum gets you to the starting line. Momentum is powerful. You have to have some desire to be in a sport. You can't just show up every day at practice. Even when you're tired, you know you have to put in the time. That's what momentum is. So I want you to think about what is your first step to the 3-step stride. So from now on in this presentation, when I say on your mark, get set, go, you're going to take your piece of paper that you had on your chair and your pen, and you're going to get up and you're going to find someone in this room. But here's the thing. You can't be with someone you know. You have to find someone in the room that you don't know, okay? Okay, listen up. You're going to take your paper with your pen, and you're going to find one other person, and you're going to discuss what you want your first step to be of your 3-step stride, okay? So, any questions? You only have like 3 minutes to do this. On your mark, get set, go. You have to quickly find somebody, quickly find someone. just go with this group. Did you find somebody? Go over with Alex. This is your first step that you feel is important. First step. Okay, you have about 1 minute left. 1 minute. Very engaging. Yeah. Okay, once you've discussed this with your partner, you can go back to your seat. What'd you come up with?
Organization.
Perfect. That's a good one. Okay, go back to your seats. Okay, we're going to just have a little discussion. 3-step stride. What I really liked about this group is there was no hesitation the second time that I said on your mark, get, set, go. You were all ready to find out what is your first step to your 3-step stride by eliminating 2 steps and going from 5 steps to 3 steps in between those hurdles. Does anybody want to share what you came up with? Right here. His first step is action. Okay, anybody else? Right here? Show up, even when it's hard. Have you all ever wanted to skip practice because you're tired? No, you show up, okay? What's another one right there? Is that you? He said to prove you wrong. That's your, is that you? No, okay. That's your first step. Now, when you do this is like your 3-step stride for your life, okay? We're talking about being an athlete, but this is also something you're going to take out of here tonight. You're going to take this sheet with you, and you're going to put it on your desk. You're going to put it in your notebook, and you're going to look at this so you can say, okay, what is my 3-step stride? How about over here? Who wants to share? Ladies, here we go. Determination. When I speak about my survivor story, I talk about determination. Because if you don't have determination, you can't focus to the finish line. Day 17, we slept in the rain in the jungles of Nicaragua when I played Survivor for 17 nights in a row. You had to have determination to get to that finish line. Determination comes from focus to the finish. Okay, how about back here? Anybody want to share? Don't be shy, right here. Putting yourself in difficult situations, love that answer. Because you know what? You learn more from yourself when you are challenged. Life is always going to have those difficult moments. I learned more from myself when I played the game of Survivor because wanting to quit on day 5 and then I almost won. But I had myself in a difficult situation. Even when I ran the hurdles, I didn't have a lot of success at the beginning. I fell a lot. I knocked my knees were black and blue. I stumbled. I remember my hands bleeding. But every single time I knocked a hurdle over, I got back up and I set the hurdle up and I kept going. You see, running the hurdles after a few years, I started seeing some improvement because I eliminated steps. I qualified for the state track meet my 8th grade year, my 9th grade year, and my 10th grade year. And truly what made the difference is momentum. I kept going even when things got tough. To keep going, though, momentum is not enough. The second step to the three-step stride is consistency. Consistency builds trust, consistency builds efficiency, and consistency turns small efforts into big results. On weekends, we lived 4 blocks from the school. I would take 2 hurdles and I would carry 1 hurdle on this shoulder and 1 hurdle on this shoulder, and I would walk 4 blocks home and I would set those hurdles up in the back of my yard. And I would run them over and over and over again. I would do drills with my trail leg. I would do drills with my lead leg. I was consistent about running and doing drills. You see, momentum is the spark, but consistency is the engine that keeps it running. Consistency leads to habits, and habits form the actions that we need every single day. You see, excellence isn't a one-time action. It's a daily discipline. It's the difference between being average and being exceptional. There's a difference. You run your own race. Do you want to run an average race? Are you in a fun run? Are you in a sprint? Are you in a marathon? Are you in a relay? You have to decide that. Because here's the truth. Consistent actions become ingrained habits. It's right up here. It starts with your thoughts. Before every race, I did the same routine. I did the same warm-up. I had the same sequence of stretches. I had the same student manager hold my blocks. And are you all ready for this? Every single season, I wore the same socks every single race, and I never washed them the entire season. I know. Maybe that's why I won, because nobody wanted to be by me. I don't know why I did that, but that's what I did. I don't know if that's consistency or superstition. I have no idea. But here's the bigger point. Greatness comes from sticking to the process day after day. It comes from putting in the work even when you don't feel like it. That's how you become consistent. The second step of the 3-step stride is consistency. What is your second step? On your mark, get set, go. You have to get up. You guys, you can be partners, okay? Like, I'm not going to make you go over with the football players. You guys be partners, okay? I totally went off script. I skipped about 7 pages. Could you tell? Mm-hmm. Totally, I went down and it's going to be 5-2. Test. You have about 1 minute left. Second step to the 3-step stride. Okay, you can take your seats. That is like really cool. I just like how you just kind of buzz around here. Okay, we are working on your 3-step stride. You have to stride and still maintain speed, eliminating 2 unnecessary steps. Who wants to share what their second step is? Right back here. Setting standards. Okay. Very good. What's another one? What's another one? Right here? Mindset. Okay? You know what? Now that you brought that up, now that you brought mindset up, I want every one of you to think about what was your first thought this morning when you got up? I will not say that, okay? Seriously, think about what your first thought was for the day. Okay, listen up. Listen up. Your mindset starts with your first thought of the day. Do you realize that 80% of your thoughts every day are negative? 80%. We judge, we come up with excuses, we tell ourselves we can't. Mindset is huge. It's one of the greatest things ever. Even when you have come up and you're starting your profession, even in your profession later on in life, mindset is something that you have to truly think about. Okay, one more, and then we have to move on. Way back here. Routine. Consistency and routine are about the same. You guys are good at this. You're getting better. So, my sophomore year, second step, I should say, is consistency. What was the first step? Momentum. Second step? Consistency. My sophomore year, I never lost a race in the 100-meter or the 300-meter hurdles during the regular season, and I ended up placing second in both the 100-meter and the 300-meter hurdles at the state track meet. I dedicate that success to momentum and consistency. Consistency does more than moves us forward. It empowers us. Consistency is the second step. So what is the third step? Momentum keeps us moving. Momentum gets us moving. Consistency keeps us moving. And now the final step is teamwork. You can't do it alone. You need a team. First step is momentum. Second step is consistency. Third step is teamwork. We all know that track and field is an individual sport as much as a team sport. And by building yourself with momentum and consistency, each and every one of you in this room, you make your team better. When I ran track, our team had one of the greatest communication skills of any team around. We trusted each other. We encouraged each other. We pushed each other at practice. We celebrated each other's wins. We challenged each other to become better. And one of the most important ingredients to teamwork is definitely communication. I can say without hesitation that my teammates made me a better athlete. They pushed me, they helped me succeed, and by doing that, they made our entire team better. My junior year, momentum, consistency, and teamwork were the 3 steps to my success. I didn't lose a race my entire junior year, and I became state champion in the 100 and the 300-meter hurdles. And I also broke the 100-meter hurdle state record that I held for 13 years. I repeated that my senior year. But because our team worked together so well, we actually achieved something unforgettable. We became state champions my senior year. We won the state track meet. Can you figure out which one is me on there? It's a long time ago. The right? The way right with the purple sweatpants on. I wore those purple sweatpants all the time. 5 girls won the state track meet my senior year. They did an article on us and they called us the Fab Five. What was our secret? Hard work, pushing each other, communication. That's true teamwork. Momentum gets you moving. Consistency keeps you moving. Teamwork makes everyone stronger and unstoppable. On your mark, get set, go! Okay, I'm not going to give you as much time in this one because we're running a little behind. So once you're done, take your seats. Okay, who wants to share? Let's have a couple answers. What is your third step and your final step? Right back here to the three-step stride. I'm getting old, I can't hear you. You got to talk louder.
No doubt.
No doubt? Leave no doubt. Leave no doubt. Okay? What's another one? Who else wants to share? Don't be shy. Right here. Push beyond. Okay? Very, very important. Push beyond. So, momentum, consistency, and teamwork. That's my three-step stride that I share with audiences. That's what I truly believe being a hurdler taught me. The value of going from 5 steps to 3 steps, eliminating 2 steps. So, here's the harder question. What about the 2 steps that you have to eliminate? Going from 5 steps to 3 steps. I had to maintain speed, I had to stride, but I had to eliminate 2 steps. You see, we all have steps in our lives that don't move us forward. Those excuses, the procrastination. That's not how we're going to reach our goal or reach our potential. They drain us, they slow us down. So start thinking about 2 steps that you need to eliminate. Because elimination starts with awareness. And that's what my daughter's going to talk about this evening. You can't move forward when you don't recognize what's holding you back. The first step that I believe each and every one of us in this room needs to eliminate is negative comparison. We all do it. Now, I truly believe that comparison is a double-edged sword. It can be positive. You can compare yourself to another runner and say, okay, I'm going to push myself a little bit harder because her time is a little bit faster than mine. But how many of you compare yourselves negatively to other people? Okay, there's some hands up in this room. Be honest, okay? This is something that we all do, especially when it comes to social media. We are flooded with social media. And what do? We sit and we scroll, and we scroll, and we scroll. I wish I lived there. I wish I could afford that. I wish I looked like her. I wish my life looked like that. I wish. And by the time you stop scrolling, you don't even feel inspired. You feel empty. You no longer feel grateful for what you have because you compare yourselves negatively to people. And the hardest truth of it all, the thing stopping you from seeing your results isn't them. It's you. Your focus is on the wrong race. You can't control other people's race, but you can control your stride. And this hit really close to home for me. I watched negative comparison begin to affect my daughter. She started doom scrolling, comparing herself to other people. This is a woman who is smart, beautiful, talented, fun. She has a wonderful family, wonderful home, 2 beautiful children. And she started comparing herself to people negative. You see, negative comparison doesn't care about facts. It only listens to lies. The more she scrolled, the smaller she felt. Her thoughts turned negative. She began questioning her purpose. And slowly, it pulled her down into depression. And that's when it hit me at home. Negative comparison doesn't just slow down your race. It steals your joy, it robs your purpose, and it breaks your stride. How did she go from broken to Boston?
All right, I'm going to start by not making you do an activity, but just by asking you a few questions. By a show of hands, how many people in this room have ever completed a marathon? Any? Yes, I knew there had to be some. Benson, I know you were. Okay, next question. With the right training and preparation and time, all the resources at your disposal, how many in this room think they could one day run a marathon? I love to see it. I love to see it. All right, I'm going to check back with you in about 5-10 years, or whenever you're ready. The last question is, how many of you would run a marathon and complete a marathon if your very life depended on it? For me, that last question was not theoretical and it was not hypothetical. It was survival. 3 years ago, I was drowning in depression. Most days, just getting out of my bed felt nearly impossible. Every morning came with a weight so heavy that I questioned whether I had the strength or the reason to keep going. For me, running didn't start as a goal. It started as a lifeline. And tonight, I'm going to take you on my journey from broken to Boston. Now, it all started right here. This is April 2023. I was with my mom on a work trip. You heard her say that she's only has 2 states left. Well, one of her speeches was in Hawaii, and she needed an assistant to go with her, so I gladly volunteered. So we were on a work trip in Hawaii, specifically on the island of Kauai. And if you've ever been there or seen photos, it is literally heaven on earth. It is beautiful. And so every morning, we would wake up and we would go to this cliff area, kind of by our resort, and we would watch the sunrise. There's quite a time difference, so we were always up very early. And I specifically remember taking this photo, this exact photo, not because of how breathtaking this is, hearing the waves crashing, watching the sun rise before us. I remember taking this photo because of how empty I felt and how numb I felt watching the sunrise with my mom. I knew that I had been unhappy for quite some time, but standing on the edge of that cliff, it became painfully clear that I had hit rock bottom and I needed help. Getting out of my bed felt more like surviving than living, and that's no way to live. I had become an expert at hiding it. No one knew. I smiled. I put on my brave face so that no one would worry about me, no one would ask questions. I convinced myself that if I ignored it for long enough, it would just go away, right? How it works. But it didn't. Something in me shifted as I stood there watching this scene unfold. Surrounded by beauty I could not feel. I realized that something had to change and it could not wait any longer. So let's backtrack for just a moment to 2020. where my marathon journey began. Prior to running my first marathon, I had completed several half marathons, 13.1 miles, and I really loved running that distance. I kind of always thought running a marathon, no offense, I thought it was insane. Like, I knew the work and the dedication and the time and the damage on your body for just running a half marathon. I knew that because I'd done that. And to think of doing that twice and double the workload, I couldn't even fathom it. So I never gave any consideration to signing up for a marathon. My husband and I moved to Brookings in 2018, and I found this crew. This is my team. She talked about teamwork. Well, these people you see in these photos, these were my team. And I started running with the running group. March 2020. What happened? COVID. So the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and my husband and I, as my mom mentioned, my husband is a dentist, and we own our own practice in Brookings. At the time, we were mandated by the state of South Dakota to close our doors for 8 weeks. We had no choice. Our 2 kids were small at the time, and all 4 of us were at home together, and we had a lot of extra time on our hands. The guy right in the middle, he is in his 60s, and he's still running marathons. His name is Rich. He's incredible. He proposed this idea of running the Brookings Marathon that fall, in the fall of 2020. And I figured, okay, he's going to keep bugging us. And if there's a time to do this, it's now. We had all this time on our hands. We were all looking for something to do. And running kind of gave us structure when everything else at that time felt so uncertain. And looking back, that was one of the most important decisions I made in my life. So we trained all spring, all summer. And in September, the 5 of us here ran the Brookings Marathon. For 3 of us, it was our first marathon. My only real goal this day was to finish. That's it. I don't care if I walked half of it. I just wanted to cross the finish line. I was in so much pain when I did that I said, I never want to do that again. And I truthfully never thought I would. And by the way, I did wash my socks after that race. Gross. After that first marathon, I backed away from running. I didn't run a whole heck of a lot for years. I spent time in the gym. I ran periodically with the same running group, and I had no desire to sign up for another marathon. I grew comfortable. I grew complacent. There were no goals on my calendar, no finish line ahead of me. Now remember, I had been a competitive athlete, as my mom mentioned, for a long time, ever since I was a child. So I went straight from high school athletics to swimming at SCSU, to working at a TV news station in Omaha, to welcoming 2 children. My husband and I started this dental practice. I had always had something that I was working on or working towards. Until now. As athletes, we are conditioned to keep pushing forward, to keep improving, to get stronger, to perfect our craft. And when that chapter of our life is over, sometimes we can struggle to fill that void. So I felt the doubt start. The motivation was waning, and with it came questions I didn't know how to answer. Who am I without a goal? What is my purpose when I don't have a finish line in front of me? After that trip to Hawaii with my mom, I did start meeting with a therapist who helped me understand that my unhappiness had started years before. Also, I think I was like way more buff when I was 8 years old than I am now. What the heck? Look at that. Jeez. So as I mentioned, I started swimming when I was 6 years old. My mom was my coach, actually, from 6 until I graduated high school. So that's awesome. I also participated in track and field, cross country, basketball, and softball. Sports were a huge part of my life. They shaped my childhood, and they taught me how to work hard. They taught me discipline. They taught me how to compete and how to push through discomfort. From a young age, achievement became how I measured my value. After graduating from SDSU in 2011, I landed a job as a reporter at a TV news station in Omaha. I worked my way up to becoming the morning traffic reporter and then the morning news anchor in Omaha. Again, that hard work and that persistence that I had learned at a young age allowed me to experience success within my career. It was the perfect next step for me after college that still gave me a chance to work hard and have something to show for it. In 2015, our first child was born. Okay, so random, but I always love to share this. He was 11 pounds, 12 ounces. I birthed a toddler. So Jackson here, the sumo wrestler, he was born in 2015. It was one of the greatest days of our lives. And when I left my job for maternity leave. And when I came back, I quickly realized that a 2 a.m. alarm clock for the morning show and having a newborn at home, it just was not going to coexist. And all of our family was back in South Dakota. And so we just didn't really have a team. We didn't have the village around us to help us with our new child. And so I made the decision to step away from my career. And we moved back to South Dakota. And I chose to stay home with our son Jackson and eventually our daughter Avery, who was born in 2018. Now that choice, they're stinkers. That choice was deeply meaningful. It was a privilege, I know that, and it was full of joy. It was also one of the hardest transitions of my life. For the first time, I had poured everything into something that didn't come with a finish line. It didn't come with a clear sense of progress, a way to measure my success. I never stopped loving my 2 children. I just lost a part of my identity that I always had built around athletics and achievement. As my mom mentioned, another big issue for me at this time was comparison, negative comparison. And to be honest, it's still something that I find myself wrestling with at times to this day. I fell into the trap of measuring my life against someone else's highlight reel on social media. From the outside, everyone looked happier. They looked more successful. They had more friends. They seemed more confident. They were more loved. I saw everyone's best moments, and I compared those to my seemingly boring life. And every time I did this, guess what happened? I came up short. I fell behind. I felt less than, worthless, invisible. Remember, I had always been someone to have some kind of a metric of success. Ever since I was 6 years old, it was conditioned. And now as a stay-at-home parent, I felt like nothing I could do would measure up to those who still had those benchmarks within their careers. And I felt reminded of that every time I logged on. That constant comparison, combined with losing a core part of my identity, left me questioning my worth. It left me question my purpose. That weight grew heavier with every passing day. I didn't feel good enough. I didn't know how to fill my own cup. And instead of sharing my unhappiness and talking about it, I did what so many of us do. I pushed it down. I hid behind a smile. I convinced myself I could do it. I was a college athlete. I can do this. I can figure it out. I'll be fine. Just give it time. And by the time I realized how serious it had become, I was dangerously close to losing myself. And then seemingly out of nowhere, something happened that I still to this day can't explain. Shortly after returning from that pivotal trip in Hawaii, I found myself tracking some of the running group photos that I showed you earlier. Some of them were running the Boston Marathon. And so I was on the app, I was tracking them, and I was watching them as they raced through the Boston Marathon. Now, these were runners that I had always admired, and I just felt like a cool kid to be in the cool club of this running group. But watching them that day ignited this fire in my heart that I hadn't felt in a long time. I still don't have the words to fully explain what happened that day, other than to say I felt like God was shining a light into the darkest depths of my life and guiding me back to my faith and back to myself. As I watched my friends push through every mile, something in me sparked. I didn't just want to cheer for my friends running the Boston Marathon. I wanted to earn my place at the starting line. It wasn't a goal. It was an obsession. This became an intense focus. It got me out of bed every morning. It got me outside of my comfort zone. It kept me going when The world around me felt so heavy. When I wanted to quit, I said, just one more mile, just one more mile. And deep in my soul, I knew that one day I would cross that famous finish line on Boylston Street. But what I didn't realize is that every step I took towards Boston and towards that finish line, I was also coming back to myself, one step at a time. So I found a race that I could run that fall, so this is the fall of 2023, that would still allow me to run the Boston Marathon in the spring of 2024. I trained all spring and summer. I did everything I could to prepare. I ran the Sundance to Spearfish Marathon in 3 hours, 30 minutes, and 42 seconds, and I qualified for the Boston Marathon by almost 5 minutes. Now, those months of hard work had paid off, and I was jazzed that I was going to be running the Boston Marathon in 2024. Or so I thought. So everybody that qualifies for the Boston Marathon, you still have to apply and be accepted. So I applied to run the Boston Marathon, and this waiting game began. It takes like 2 weeks for you to hear if you made it or not. Now, this specific year, there were more applicants than they had spots for, so they had to cut out some of the slower runners at the bottom of each age category. I was 1 minute shy of making it. 1 minute. You mean to tell me I ran for 3.5 hours and I missed it by a minute? That's like 3 seconds per mile, not even 3 seconds per mile. I was mad. I was so mad. You guys, we were on a trip at Disney World and we were walking through Epcot and I got this email and I was like eating my ice cream at Epcot and just bawling. My son is like, Mom, what is wrong? I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't make it. Okay, so it was, for me that day, Disney was not the happiest place on earth, but I got over it. Oh, where am I? So what I did that day, this is important. I decided right then and there, I was crying into my ice cream at Epcot, that I was going to use that moment as my momentum, as one of my steps. That same day, I started looking for someone to help me be the best long-distance runner I could be, someone to help me level up and finally make it to Boston. I was leaving nothing to chance. After multiple recommendations, I found Benson Langet with Benson Coaching in Sioux Falls, and I've been working with him ever since. And I'm so honored that he is here tonight. Benson, I'd like you to stand and be recognized. Thank you for making the trip here. I really appreciate that. Now, I trained under Benson's steady leadership for the next 7 months. I dialed in my workouts, my nutrition, my sleep, my cross-training. I learned how to properly fuel myself, both for training and competition. Most importantly, though, Benson taught me how to mentally prepare for the hardest moments of running a marathon. Those lessons also applied to the mental health struggles that I was facing at the time. And they were just as important as the physical workouts I was doing every single day. I was strengthening both my body and my mind at the same time. I also practiced consistency. We practiced consistency by finding what worked for me as an athlete and repeating that process over and over. Benson, I love you, but I worked harder than I have ever worked in my entire life, and I'm a college swimmer, so that tells you something. He's wonderful if you're a runner and you're ever looking for a coach. I turned that pain into purpose, and it paid off big time. On April 6, 2024, I ran the Mount Charleston Marathon in 3 hours, 4 minutes, and 36 seconds. I hit a 26-minute personal best time. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, I would run the Boston Marathon in 2025. That day was the comeback and the victory that I so desperately needed. It was also a testament to harnessing the power of your emotions and utilizing them for gain. To this day, I truly think getting cut from the Boston Marathon that first go-around was one of the most important lessons because it taught me that sometimes our failures are the most important life lessons of all, and that the things that we really want are worth fighting for, always. And running the Boston Marathon was one of the best days of my life. I traveled to Boston to race alongside 30,000 runners from all over the world. We each had our own unique story of how we got to the starting line, but we all hoped for the same ending, to cross the finish line 26.2 miles away. And when the starting gun went off, there was nothing that could have prepared me for what was to come, both physically and emotionally. I took off with tears in my eyes, this dream of running the Boston Marathon. It was coming through with every step that I took. I put one foot in front of the other, tackling 1 mile at a time. The early miles, they were effortless, they were fun, but I knew what was to come. The voice in my head would soon be screaming at me to stop. My feet would hurt, my toes would be full of blisters, my legs would ache. Really makes you want to run a marathon now, doesn't it? And I wasn't sure how I could keep going. And for a moment, I wondered if I could make it to the finish line. But then I thought about everything it took to get here. I thought about those early mornings running hundreds of miles in the freezing cold. My family and friends who had supported me for so long, they never gave up on me. Coach Bisson and his unwavering faith in my ability to make it here. He taught me to believe in myself. And I thought about the younger version of myself who might never have believed that one day we would run the Boston Marathon. I thought about that sunrise in Hawaii and how that moment sparked this chapter of my life that I never could have imagined. And every single one of those thoughts pushed me just a little bit farther towards that finish line. And just when I thought I couldn't make it, I saw the Sit-Go sign. It sits right by Fenway Park, and this sign indicates 1 mile left in the race. So you see it, and it looks like Jesus standing waiting for you. It's amazing. Slowly, that sign got bigger as I continued to approach. I passed by the sign, and a lot of runners say, right on Hereford, left on Boylston. It's this thing. It's the coolest moment of your life because you literally pass by this sign, you go under this bridge, you turn right on Hereford. There's tons of people, thousands of people standing there. Right on Hereford, left on Boylston. And I saw it. The finish line. And when that finish line came into view, with just a few hundred meters left, I realized it was almost over. After praying to make it here, 2 years prior, all of a sudden I didn't want it to end. I looked up and looked around and I took in every last moment of this incredible journey. I closed my eyes just to feel it all one last time. And with tears streaming down my face and an overwhelming sense of gratitude, I crossed that finish line. I thank God for giving me the strength to make it through the darkness. And as this medal right here was placed around my neck, the light that I had been chasing for so long was blinding. I did it. I made it. The Boston Marathon wasn't just a race. It was the victory lap in a journey back to myself. Along the way, I found someone I thought I had lost forever. Running taught me that no matter how hard this life gets, no matter how much we want to quit, we are capable of so much more than we think, but only if we are willing to keep pushing forward. One decision, one step, 1 mile, 1 day at a time. Because just like running, our life has seasons. Some are beautiful, some are terrible, some are a mixture of both. But here's what I know for sure. The moments you think might break you often become the moments that build you. And sometimes the person you become while chasing that finish line is better than crossing the finish line itself. 3 years ago, I was standing on that cliff in Hawaii, feeling completely lost. I questioned if life was even worth living anymore. Truthfully, I was at that point. And today I stand here before you healthy, happy, and grateful because I didn't quit on myself. And the same strength that got me through that season of darkness is already inside of every single one of you, no matter your age or where you are at in your life. It's right here. So when life feels heavy, keep going. When your path isn't clear, you're going to graduate, there might not even be a path. Just keep going, one day at a time. When you're questioning everything, keep going. Because somewhere ahead of you is a moment and a finish line you can't even see yet. And it might be the one that changes everything. So, I want to leave you with the same question I asked you at the beginning. How many of you would run a marathon if your life depended on it? Every single hand in this room should be raised. The truth is, someday it might not be a marathon. It might be your mental health. It might be your identity. It might be your purpose on this earth. It might be your will to keep going. If that day comes, I hope you remember this. You don't have to see the whole course. You do not even have to see the finish line. You just have to take that first step. Because sometimes the race you never planned to run is the race that ends up changing your life. Thank you.
She needs a standing ovation. Okay? Yeah. Now I have to try to follow that as a mom. I had absolutely no idea that Alex was where she was. I was with her in Hawaii. I had no idea that she was going through depression. Mental health is one of the hardest things to talk about. As athletes, we worry about our physical health a lot. There may be someone in this room that is struggling mentally. Mental health has become one of the biggest topics right now that speakers are talking about because of social media, negative comparison, where we are in the world, all the negativity. It's hard to step up to that starting line at times. There's a number that each and every one of you in this room needs to remember, and it's 988. If you truly believe that you're struggling from mental health, don't cover up with a smile. You have your coach, you have your professors, you have your parents. It's something that you don't need to be ashamed of. It's something that you need to talk about. When Eric asked if I had wanted to come and speak again, I suggested my daughter because I told her, I said, you know, Alex, mental health right now is huge. And her first response was, I just don't know if I can talk about it, Mom. And I said, what you don't realize is your vulnerability could save one person in that room. And so by her getting up here and sharing that story, that's hard to say. I almost took my life because of depression. But it's also something that is one of the bravest things that one person could do. Thanks, Alex. We need to give her another round of applause. So as we finish, negative comparison is one of the steps that we need to eliminate. See, you are built for your own lane, your own pace, and your purpose. And the moment that you stop comparing is the moment that you will start winning. So when we think about that three-step stride and we think about what we have to get rid of, and we hear on your mark, get set, go, we also have to get rid of complacency. Complacency is one step that each and every one of us in this room needs to get rid of. When I talked about goals earlier, it's wonderful to have a goal. But what happens when you reach that goal? You may have not reached your potential. So go beyond your goals and don't become complacent. Now, I mentioned to you earlier that I was state champion my junior and my senior year in high school. I won both the 100 and the 300 meter hurdles. But here's what happened. I became complacent. I never improved one of my times from my junior year to my senior year. Even though I became state champion, I was satisfied. I won. It didn't matter. And yet, I didn't improve at one time. I stopped pushing myself. I didn't change my workouts. I didn't change my strength training. It just became about winning. It didn't become about reaching my potential. Complacency is an unnecessary step in everybody's race. It's about reaching your potential. How do we do that? Why do we become complacent? Because of fear? I was overconfident. I was a junior. I was already the state champion. Didn't matter about my time. I just wanted to be champion again. No, that's not what should have happened. I should have stepped out of the bubble. I should have pushed myself harder. I should have changed things up. I should have set new goals. So ask yourself this evening, you're going to step up to the starting line. What are 2 steps that you have to eliminate? Steps like negative comparison, steps like complacency. Those are the steps that are going to hold you back. You know, complacency is about doing it now. Look at the words that are on the board. How many of you say those words? Oh, another day. How about next week? Never, later. One day I'll do it. That's what happens when you become complacent. Complacency is something we need to get rid of. It's about doing it now. You see, your steps may be different than mine that I said tonight, but we all have those steps that we need to take, and we all have those steps that we need to get rid of. Because we can't become what we want by remaining what we are. Think of that quote. Write it down. If you want to become a better hurdler in life, you have to have your 3-step stride. See, here's the thing. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. You have to step up to the starting line. You have to look down the track, and you have to say to yourself, on your mark, get set, go. Thank you so much for having Alex and I. Okay, you're going to stay. Thank you. Thank you. Don't leave. Don't leave. Stay here. Okay? We have a little time for questions. We have about 5 minutes left, and I know, Eric, you have some things to mention yet? Okay, so we're going to open it up for questions. This is Alex's first speech that she ever gave on mental health and telling her story. So if you have anything that you want to ask her about mental health, how she got through it, what really matters with mental health, anything that you want to ask us, please do. Don't be shy. Right here.
Great question. So the Boston Marathon was my 3rd marathon. I ran Brookings, Sundance to Spearfish, actually 4th, Mount Charleston, and then Boston. Last fall, I ran Chicago. This year, I'm running Boston again. 6 days later, I'm running the Big Sur Marathon in California, and this fall, I'm running Berlin in Germany. So you guys, running has changed my life, and maybe I didn't make that clear enough in my speech, but I'm trying to run all the world majors. In America, it's Boston, Chicago, and New York City, and abroad, they actually have 4 now, so 7. Sydney, Australia, Berlin, London, and Tokyo. So that's kind of my next goal.
So even though she reached her goal, now she's going beyond and going to reach her potential. I just wish she would take me with to, where are you going next? Boston. No.
Big Sur, Berlin.
Berlin. Yeah, I want to go to Berlin. But there's another question.
No, I know who he is, but I've never met him.
You are?
Are you really? He's not. Okay. I'm like, I don't know if I should believe you.
He's not.
He's actually, I like him. I think he's great. He's a great motivator. Yes. Okay. In the back. So I think initially when my kids were small and I was training for that first marathon, I was lucky because my husband was home for a while. In the summertime, though, when he would work and I would be at home with the kids, I would wake up at 5 and run every day at 5:30, and I would just have to be home by 7 to care for the kids when he would go to work. My long runs on the weekends were usually easy. He would help with the kids. Now my kids are older and they're in school. And so during this school year, it's easy. I can still run in the morning with my training group. I can also run kind of during school hours, just wherever I can fit it in my schedule. I had an 18-mile run, which I did Sunday because it was so nice. And so I was outside for, a couple hours, and my husband, I couldn't do this without my support system, and a big part of that is my husband, who helps out a lot. So.
It's all about organization. Didn't somebody have that as their three-step stride?
Got a question back here?
Being organized.
Oh, that's such a good question. I think prior to that day where I just had this moment of inspiration that I wanted to run the Boston Marathon, I was kind of a pretend Christian. I walked the walk, but I wasn't fully invested in my faith, and I wasn't doing the things that I knew I should do. And since then, my therapist actually was one. Her name was Jill. I always say that Jill and Jesus saved my life, because it wasn't just Jill. It was me coming back into the Bible and reading my Bible every day, which I still do. I'm trying to read the whole Bible this year. I've never done it in my life, and I'm 38 years old. I would run a lot to Christian music, and I still do. I have moments when I'm training and I just start crying. I don't know, it's a powerful thing that fuels my heart and fuels my soul, is that Christian music as I'm running. I even have Christian songs on my racing playlists just to kind of center me and bring me back to God and to my faith. I love being a Christian, and I love the security that it gives me. And having Jesus in my back pocket is the best motivator and support system I could ever have in my life.
No more questions? We do, okay.
I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Oh my gosh, great question. He asked if you notice someone maybe struggling, or you think they might be having a mental health issue. You said, what should you do?
If they don't want to be helped, what do you do?
It depends on what kind of a mental health issue it is. What I learned being in it is don't ever hide it. So if you're struggling with something, there's always someone that can help. 988, your coaches, counselors, therapists. I met with Jill online, my therapist. They're everywhere, and they're always willing to help you. But if you have someone in your life that you're worried about, I would talk to them. Just sit down with them over a cup of coffee and tell them that you love them. Tell them that you're concerned about them. Tell them that you're there to listen no matter what. If it gets to a point where you're seriously concerned about them, I would tell somebody. I would. I don't think we're ever going to regret caring and taking the steps to care about someone and get them the help that they need. We are going to regret if we have to say goodbye to them. I don't see any other hands.
No.
Thank you so much for
Yes,
having
you
us.
guys
This
were
was great.
amazing, and
You were
remember your
awesome.
stride.
Yeah. Okay. So
Oh, yes.
what we're
Look
going
at-
to try to do is we're going to
We
try
were
to
supposed
take.
to be done at 7:30, Alex. Look at the clock.
We're going to
7:30.
try to take a picture. So Eric is going to stand up here.
Okay.
So my mom and I will be here. If you guys could just stand up and kind of come into the aisle. Oh, Benson, you got to come up here too.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. We're going to put Alex.
I don't know if you want this to direct everybody. So maybe the guys in the front, if we have some room like right up here, if people want to come forward, we'll do our best to get everybody. Yeah, if you want to stand in chairs in the back, feel free. Maybe these front rows could take a knee. You think that's good? Yeah. All right, cool. Here we go. We're going to try to take this picture.